Okay, so let me tell you what the hell I tried to do today. I tried to what they call go live. That shit was crazy. So I just go live. That was my first time ever doing that. So I said, let me just go live. I went live on TikTok. With nobody in there. My niece came in there. I saw you having. My niece came in. I think it was having or having. So she come in there and she leaves. She said, I ain't finna be the only one in here talking to Uncle. What you think I was gonna say? What you think? You gonna get to know me? I ain't seen you in forever. But anyway, so I do the little live, and I'm on a walk right now. They said on TikTok you take 10,000 steps a day. So I said, I got done with my work. I did some editing, didn't do all the editing. Good episode coming out next, but the one that's coming out after that, that's gonna be fire. Next episode is We Are the Conscious Collective. I just talk about my intro and why I mess with it, and have a good time. It's just a fun episode. It's not too much a part of the message, but it's in the message. And then the one after that, that's the one. Storytime with Q Chapter 4. It's going to be a very good story time with Q. I don't know if I'm going to change the original video that I did, but I definitely, I might. If I touch it, it's going to take more time, and that's why I'll be going live and stuff. But anyway, so back to when I go live. So I'm going live just talking about all this stuff. I'm on my walk talking about all this stuff. I see something that say invite. I said, what's that? I'm kind of the old young dude. Just in case y'all didn't know, y'all went in the live. I'm just growing my hair because I'll give, I don't care. I don't care. Come on, man. Just what I'm supposed to keep paying $50 for a haircut for nothing? Come on now, it ain't. I ain't got nothing going on. We get something going on, I do something. When I start recording season 3, I'll line up, I'll make it look good. You know what I'm talking about? But right now, I'm chilling. Y'all don't know what I'm doing. I'm extremely busy. But anyway, so doing a little live, homie, it's a invite. He said he wanted to join. I said, okay. African scud, you look like an African brother. I said, let me talk to my brother then, see what he want to talk about, because I ain't doing nothing but just talking and walking. I click on the button. He come on the bitch like this with some music playing in the background. I said, what the hell you do? I said, what's up, man? He's playing that shit. They start singing it to me. I said, I don't like none of this. I didn't even know how to exit the live. I just kept pushing back till I ain't see him no more. I said, I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back. But yeah, that was my first time ever going on live. I ain't gonna say it's gonna be my last, but next time I'm gonna try to organize some shit. I at least need a few people in there. Let's talk about something. Anything you want to talk about. We can talk about anything. How about that? I am actually writing an episode for season 3. I know you motherfuckers ain't even been listening to see like you're supposed to, but it's gonna always be there. So whenever this video, if one of my videos go viral and I turn to something, I want y'all to always come back to this video because y'all should have been listening like I told you. I got a good message. Focus on the message and I have a good time. We gonna make some stuff happen. So anyway, taking this little biology class. I got an A, averaging 4.0 grade point average. Dude from the hood. I told y'all I was smart. I be figuring stuff out. You should listen to me. I did this off the cuff. But anyway, in my biology class, it felt like my professor is trying to like she want me to not acknowledge my knowledge of self. She want me to not acknowledge that I got the power of choice, that I'm a God. She don't listen to my podcast. Clearly she don't listen to my podcast. But this child of God, my professor, this child of God, she reads some stuff and she be like, this is why you gotta believe it. I be like, okay, the book says this, the book says this. What's wrong with me just saying that it's saying the truth? You can't tell me I'm supposed to say that it happened because I read about it. Who the fuck is you? That don't even make sense. Just because you do that shit, we cool. I got an A, 4.0 grade point average. Don't forget that's all the classes. So clearly, I understand your curriculum. So why you got some pushback? Because I don't want to say it the way you want me to say it, which is just, because it was written, it's true. Let me tell you something. I think she an agent. I don't, because we was just talking about, like, week before last, we was talking about cloning in class. We had to write a little essay. She asked some questions and stuff. This is going to be an episode, so it's going to be a real good episode. I'm making a part of it. So it's the rough draft when y'all hear this. So shouts out to y'all for getting some preemptive season 3 comings aroundings. Make sure y'all check out season 2 that's airing now. Go look at it. It's on YouTube. I got videos on YouTube. Y'all can go to my Spotify too. I got videos on Spotify. If I get enough people and it start becoming feasible, I'm gonna make a little channel or something for us where we can kick it once a week and just talk about whatever you want to talk about, because I like to talk about stuff. Y'all see I got 2 seasons of 50 episodes. But anyway, so it seemed like my biology professor Okay, so look, this is what we do. It's this thing called CRISPR. Hey, I don't know y'all. Don't come for me. I just read about y'all. Okay, I just read about y'all in school. So don't say I said it. Say the school said it. Anyway, so CRISPR, they doing this gene editing shit. They help them do shit like clone. Like I don't know if y'all remember. Y'all remember that sheep they cloned back in the day? I learned they cloned a frog before that. They been cloning. They been cloning because that didn't look like Jim Carrey. I don't think that's Martin either. I ain't trying to start no conspiracy theory, so let me shut up. Let me shut up. Keep talking about what I was talking about. So anyway, my biology professor she said something about what's the benefit and what are some of the potential downsides. I don't think she really wanted my answer. I don't think she wanted anybody's answer. I think she wanted people to just be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They should clone because it helped people. Right? And it was something about what do you think, how do you think they'll use it in the future? This CRISPR shit where they can clone people. And they telling me about this in a university. That's what they telling me about this in a university with my biology teacher that seemed like she a cultist. That's what I think. I think she's trying to get me in a cult. I'm not going for it. But anyway, I said, I think that they are already doing it, but I think the way that they will roll it out to the public, just the way I see things, I think they'll probably start with food. They'll be like, one of our quote unquote enemies, they're poisoning our food supply. People may go hungry, and they'll let a lot of us die because the people in power don't seem to care about us. I think they forgot that we, the people, we all in this together. We all should be working together, but some people don't see it that way. So for me, I told you I hate bullies. Only way to defeat a bully is to not defeat yourself. You don't want him to do something to you, you gotta do something about it. You gotta do something about it. I think this is logical sense. But I also understand the art of war. I also understand how they said they used to send missionaries to places before they took over so they can take over their mind before they took them over physically. You know, in the art of war, say fight them where they aren't. The supreme art of war is to defeat the enemy without fighting. If a man sends reinforcements everywhere, he would be weak. So that means if I tell you like watch your kids or something like that, that means I want you to watch them mentally, teach them something, tell them what makes sense. Because if an enemy is telling you, oh, I'm a clone, because they sure don't give a fuck about you. Clearly, Tupac told you, Michael Jackson even told you. Y'all weren't listening probably, you know. But anyway, if somebody that don't give a fuck about you come up with this shit, even including AI, the shit that's tracking my face right now, and they come up with some shit that can replace you, why wouldn't they do it? What stops them from doing it? What stops a person from considering their own self-preservation? The only thing that I can imagine would stop somebody, they would have to give a fuck about you. They would have to care about you deeply. But if a motherfucker don't care about you and they can serve their own self-interest, I would imagine that if an enemy don't want you to see the motherfucking butcher's blade, they'll present it to you sugarcoated. So first they go, oh, the enemy's poisoning our food. The enemy's poisoning our food supply. We gonna run out of eggs, y'all. We ain't gonna have no more chickens, y'all. People dying of starvation more than they ever have because they never stop. What we gonna do, y'all? Just like with that COVID shit. Heroes gonna come out and go, you know what? We done figured out how to clone all these animals. So we'll never go hungry. Just eat the clone meat. Oh shit, am I too late to tell y'all? Because I've been thinking this for years. You could tell from the dates of the episode when you listen to them. They already said it was okay to give us clone meat. I think Cat Williams even talked about it. So that's why I told her in the little biology, because it's a little discussion board. So I'm telling everybody in a discussion board. I just say, like they'll roll it out with the, we saving y'all. We giving y'all food y'all never had. Then they're going to start cloning people, which start is a strong word or phrase to say. Anyway, but let's just say they clone people. What happens if, there's more questions, you know, it's power in the question. What happens if you clone people to do these tasks? And you know people is freaked out. Let's stop acting Like a horse ain't a horse and a sheep ain't a sheep. Look, some people are freaked out. And if they got the ability to make a whole person, what they gonna do to that person they made? Come on now. They're gonna be like, it don't got the same rights as you and me. It's not a real person. Sound familiar? See how the light came up there to show you my skin pigmentation? But anyway, it's just the mentality of somebody. People usually stay in their patterns. What happens if there's a rebellion? I think the ignorance of people, the devil, that ignorance mixed with arrogance, that devil. So if they believe that something will happen, they're so ignorant and arrogant. They're ignorant to what actually will happen because they're not there. And they're arrogant enough to think what they think will happen will happen. They might be like, it happened before. Look how docile certain people are. What if those clones don't have a soul? What if they don't have that nefesh? That's what I asked her in the thing. Let her know I knew some new words. She probably thought like, oh, I just learned here. Like, shorty, I've been learning way before I got to college. But anyway, so I said, what if they don't have that soul, that nefesh, that quantity that you couldn't replicate because we don't know everything it takes to make us? We're making our version of it. Even if you make a Xerox copy of something, it's never the original. What if they don't have that soul and they lack compassion? What if due to that lack of compassion, they basically like AI? And then they decide that they don't have to listen to you anymore. What if they get jealous because they see other people that look just like them? Slight differences, different skin pigmentations. But they see these other people that look just like them, but they're free. And they don't think it's okay to live like this. Why would they be created if this is how they live? And if they were created by somebody, being humans, that would make humans their God. Do you know how pissed off I would personally be if humans was my God and I could see the flaws and all that other shit? That'd make me an atheist. So what you think gonna happen to that clone when he see, oh, this my God and this how I gotta fuck it? Oh, fuck that. What if the clone's so motherfucking good they cells and shit don't degenerate over time and they basically immortal? And then they kill us off and now they the new occupants of this planet. Like, I'm gonna clone somebody, I wanna see what it's like to cut off an arm or do some, people get freaked out. People do all type of crazy stuff. So I was just saying in the biology discussion board that I think people's ambition can outpace their knowledge. And trying to bridge the gap with because you said so, it's some devilish shit and it always will lead to disaster. In my personal opinion. Look, we just do our assignment. You got to comment to at least 2 people. But when I put that, I had like 5 people coming. Hold on. What you said? You know what? I agree with you. Then the professor jump in the discussion board. The professor never jumps in the discussion board. I put that in. Now we got the professor all in the discussion board. Actually, Mr., saying my name. I think she called me Q too. She's like, hi, Q. I don't know why I got to sound like that because it was just type words. But anyway, I'm messing with her. Hi, Q. Well, actually, CRISPR is the. And she was saying that some guy went to jail for helping people because he figured out a way to and she used kids. She was like, he cured HIV and these children. And again, I don't know how she sounds. I'm reading this and I'm making up her voice. This ain't the first time. Don't think I'm saying this. I know y'all probably can't see me. It's dark over here. It's dark. I'm about to go back in. I think I done walked enough. How long I been out here? Ooh, that's what I just came out here and walked and talked. I like that. But anyway, yeah, she do that. People start replying and I'm gonna make an episode about it. And I'm gonna read everything everybody said and I'm gonna make it into an episode and I'm gonna try to wrap a point to it, or maybe I may make it funny. Maybe I may make it a little condensed more than what I was speaking now. Make it a little funny. Because I think I could do comedy. I think I could if I sat down with it just like I figured out how to rap. I think I could figure out how to do stand-up comedy because I know I always got a message. The only thing that I really think I need to work on is how I deliver it. And that's why I really like my 2 writing classes. Again, A 4.0. I just keep doing that. I made the dean's list each semester. So, but that's what I do. I told y'all I was a little smart. And now I'm going to school and figuring it out. But I want y'all to make sure y'all check out Storytime with Q, Chapter 4. It'll be episode 10 of this season. All right? Y'all check that out for me. I appreciate y'all rocking with me too. I hope y'all had fun with this. It's just me talking. I wanted to do this going live, but people was tripping. Come on there. You just mouthing the words to the song. So you think I'm gonna sit here and let you sing to me, dude? Get up off my life. You like you don't know how to exit. I wanted to kick them out. So I just left the live and came and did this. So I'm gonna go back in. I did a nice little walk. I think I got my 10,000 steps. What if my watch ain't on? But anyway, and all that talking I did was just me kicking it with you. But I want you to remember, every time you leave me, every time I talk to you, I don't care what season it is, remember, don't let your past bully your present into becoming your future. Because what they call pure is tampered with. The cure can't answer it. You're lost in a world looking for answers that's answerless. It's always been in you. Every answer is always you. No matter how far I go around the story, it's always you. Remember that. If you don't believe me, come to my page, talk to me. If you want to get on live and talk to me, just don't come on there singing to me as a man. If you sexy and I like the song and a woman, I might let it slide because I might want to vibe with you. But anyway, y'all check that out. Holla at your boy. Don't forget, coming out YouTube. That's Power in the Question. Information is information. My Spotify got videos on there now. That's Power in the Question. Information is information. Y'all already see me on my TikTok. I think it's QMOED5. And then y'all come to my Instagram. It's TPQ underscore III. I'm probably do some edit, put that on the scene, on the screen, I mean. So y'all ain't gotta sing, but know exactly what I mean when I deem these things. You know, I start spit to me anyway. I'll let you boy.